Hey, it's Sean from Tested. Happy holidays. Here with the yearly favorite things video. I've kind of got a wide array of things as usual, from toys, the books, to tools. So let's dive in and talk about some of my favorite things of this year. First, I think we'll start with audio first. I'm a little bit of an old fart, and I have a standard stereo setup with like an actual receiver, wood grain, 1970s, like that kind of thing. And I do have my old tape deck and my CD player and all that, but for convenience, I do listen to almost all my music digitally from my computer. So I had ripped all my, CDs long ago, the FLAC, and everything kind of resides there. And so I was running into problems with getting easily listening to my music on my stereo system from the computer. So I picked this up this year. This is from Audio Engine. It's the Audio Engine B1, and it's very simple box. It is simply a Bluetooth streamer. So I'm going Bluetooth from my desktop PC to this. It has two outputs. It has RCA analog, and it has an optical fiber optic out, and it is simply powered by 5-volt USB-C in. And it just works. Like the neat thing about this is I have it hooked up to the auxiliary switched outlet on the back of the receiver, as some have. So when you turn on the receiver, it powers this up and it just automatically turns on and automatically connects. I don't have to keep going over and pushing the buttons or anything like that. And it's worked great. It has a nice DAC in it for converting the audio to analog, and it supports high resolution Bluetooth codecs. So like aptX and AAC and all of those, it supports all the ones up to high res. So that is another nice feature with this that I've been happy with. And it does have a pretty long range. I've been able to go many rooms away and still pick it up without any problems. So it was a simple addition, but it made a huge difference in my audio setup in the shop. So the Audio Engine B1 streamer. I also finally picked up buds, and I am one of those guys that I stuck to my plug-in headphones and a headphone jack on my phone for as long as possible, and I finally gave up and went to the wireless earbuds. And part of that, the reason I didn't before, was that a lot of them that I tried on or tried out just did not stay in my ears well. I was always paranoid about losing them or falling out, and they just weren't super comfortable for me. So these are the Google Pixel Bud Pros 2, the Pixel Bud Pro 2. And I've been really happy with them. One of the things that I really like about them is that it has this little extra fin on it that is meant to help hold it into your ear. So you kind of go in and you rotate it so that the fin sticks back here and it helps retain it in the ear well. And they've always felt secure in my ear, and I've never had a problem with them falling out, and they've been comfortable for long periods of time. The sound quality to me is great. I know that there are better ones. We were talking about the high-res codecs that the Audio Engine supports. My one gripe that these do not support the high-res Bluetooth codecs. So I have a Sony digital Walkman that does support those and has output for them. But to be honest, I don't know at my age if I can tell the difference. So they sound good to me. They do everything that I want. They have good noise cancellation and pass through, and they have the touch controls like standard, like you can press and hold, you can swipe for volume and next song, and that's all programmable, so you can change them up as needed. I've had good battery life with them, and the pod cases held a good charge and has been able to charge them up a few times. They also have multi-point so that it will easily move from Bluetooth device to Bluetooth device. It kind of figures out what you're listening or using and try to connect to that accordingly. And that's been a really nice convenience on these as well. So overall, my transition to the wireless buds has been relatively painless, and I've been happy with them, and I should have done it sooner. So the Google Pixel Bud Pro 2. Happy with both of these audio hookups. Okay, let's do a book that's music adjacent. So I didn't buy very many books this year, but this is one of my recent purchases. As a longtime fan of the band Bauhaus, kind of considered one of the founders of goth rock, and then their Shoot-Offs, Love and Rockets, and Tones on Tails and stuff like that. So this is actually a collection done by the drummer of Bauhaus, Kevin Haskins, and this is from his own personal collection of photos and actual stories from the band. So it's like, it's set list, it's you know, travel info, it's pictures from the band over the years, personal notes. It's really, really good. And this is the actual second printing, which is expanded and has more stuff from the band itself in it. I would highly recommend searching out the second edition, both because it's expanded and the fact that the first edition is going for way more money than it should on eBay and elsewhere. I would recommend going directly to the book's publishing site, Cleopatra Records, because there you can get it for $50 versus $75 or more that you'll find elsewhere online and other book places. But if you're a fan of Bauhaus or Love and Rockets or goth music, highly recommend picking up Bauhaus Undead 2nd edition. All right, let's move to tools. We'll do some tools now. Very first tool are these guys. They're just little clips for holding things for painting. So you can clip in small parts or use multiples on a big part. And it's just a convenient way to hold small stuff for airbrushing or spray painting or whatever. The difference with these is most of these have a wooden stick on them. And this year I found these ones that have a braided metal cable stick. So they don't break, which is nice, and they hold up better. And the other thing I like about them is you can bend them to a certain extent if you need to position them in a certain way or away from each other on your paint board or whatever, and they stick really well into like a hunk of foam. So these you can get they're like 50 of them for like $8, and they're like my go-to now, and I've retired my wooden stick ones. The only gripe I've had about them is that sometimes the bottom can start to fray open and you can get some stabby bits. So you can trim them off, or you could put a little dab of hot glue or dip these in epoxy, and that should keep them from unfraying or fraying on you and creating the stabby bits. But yeah, just handy little model clips for a variety of paint uses. And kind of to go with that, we're going to go over here to my airbrush paint booth. I've actually had this for a long time, and it's just a really handy way to do airbrushing without making a mess. So it has built-in LEDs. It has a built-in filter or fume extractor, so it'll collect all your overspray into the back fiber bit. And it even has the option to hook up an external hose that you could vent out a window if you had a smell problem. So I'm going to turn it on real quick so you can see. But it lights it up nicely, and you have extraction for the paint overspray. And then the other nice thing about it is the fact that it does fold down flat for storage. And the other neat thing about this is if you need a bigger spray area, you can hook multiple of these together. So you take off the side panels, you hook them together, and then you can get a wider one. So that's kind of a nice feature as well. This is one of those things online, like Amazon or whatever. There's a million different manufacturers. They all look exactly the same. So just find the size that works well for you, because otherwise they're pretty similar. The one thing that I might recommend is the one gripe I have about this one is the plug-in lights are a little finicky. So you have to basically put it in sections, in 3 sections. So like this, and then these plug in back there. And it's kind of finicky, and the lights you have to mess with them a lot to usually get them to stay on. Some of the other ones that I think I'm going to link to in the description they have a built-in light panel. So this panel has the LEDs recessed, which I think might be a better setup. So I would maybe try that one versus the one with the separate LEDs on it. But like I said, otherwise they're all pretty much the same. They work well, and the fact that you can vent them outside if needed is a nice addition. You don't want to use this for spray paint. This is for like airbrush only, because spray paint's just, you'll overwhelm this thing and just clog the filter instantly. Or if you're gonna spray paint, just like little quick things. But like I said, if you have a limited amount of workshop space and you need some kind of paint collection or paint booth thing, this is a good choice. I'm gonna move this now so you can take a look at what it's sitting on and my other favorite thing of the year. I've been looking for a nice mobile workstation for the shop. Just for anything from like, I need to sort some parts or like, or set part bins on something, or I need to use my laptop over by the vinyl cutter or something like that. I'm always like trying to clear space or balance it on my arm or whatever. So I wanted something that I could cart around. And I looked on it, there's tons of stuff online, like little workstation stuff, but probably a lot of them were so flimsy. And I was getting ones that, yeah, they were cheap, but they felt really cheap and you could knock them over really easy. They were hard to adjust, like I wasn't happy with them. So I stumbled across medical carts. So this is the kind of cart that you would have a mobile computer system on, like in a hospital or a doctor's office or whatever. And they're made by Ergotron, who also make like monitor arms and stuff like that. And I'm gonna say this right up front, these are insanely expensive. I think the base price for this particular one is like $2,000. Now it does have a built-in battery in the base that you can run a laptop monitor off of for a few hours. And it's completely pneumatic, so you can raise and lower this really easily. It has some of the nicest rolling wheels and locking wheels on it ever. It normally also has a monitor mount up here that you can mount a monitor and slide it up and down as needed. But $2,000 is ridiculous. I would never pay that for this. So what you want to do is look for salvage warehouses and even Facebook Marketplace. I found a bunch of these on there. I ended up getting this one for $100. This is actually Adam's, because I thought this was so cool. I immediately called him from the warehouse. I was like, hey, do you want one of these? He's like, of course. So this has been in Adam's shop. I have one at home and I use it daily for like all kinds of stuff. And it's just so convenient and so satisfying to use and so well built. And for $100, totally worth it. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to find that good of a deal, but it's worth looking around because you get, it's just like when they clear out offices and stuff like that, you get like the really, really nice office chairs for like pennies because they're just trying to get rid of them. Same kind of thing for this, I think. And this particular model normally also has a keyboard tray underneath. I think Adam's taken his off. Even has like a little mouse cradle, and then the whole thing can open up that if you wanted to put a PC in here, you can hide it in here and actually have your whole monitor, PC, and keyboard set up, and then use this up here for paperwork or whatever. And so right now I'm actually running some of my favorite things off of this inside, off the built-in battery. And like I said, my experience is that my laptop has run quite a few hours on one charge of the battery, and then you just plug it in with the included cable to recharge it, or if the battery dies, you can end up running your stuff off of the wall this way. So yeah, so medical carts, who knew? Check it out if this is like kind of fits the bill for something you need in the workshop, but just don't try to buy a real one. Just go on Salvage Warehouse or Facebook Marketplace or something like that. I've been looking for little tiny lighting setups for various things. One of which is I have, we'll do a future video on this, but I built a tiki hut at home. And if anybody's been to a good tiki hut, one of the keys to tiki huts is you have to have lots of lighting, lots of different color lighting, and lots of like highlighting of interesting objects. And for as dimly lit as tiki bars usually are, it requires an insane amount of lighting when you actually start picking out all the individual light sources. So I've been on the hunt for stuff like that, and I found these little LED spotlight systems. And originally I was getting all just, the ones that I found were white light. And and I was trying to dye these different colors for the tiki hut. And I was trying to use like alcohol ink and stuff like that, and it just wasn't really working well. So I finally found a multi-color set, which is what I have here. So you got red, blue, purple, whatever. And they basically are just little tiny spotlights. They're on a little ball joint, so you can kind of pose them as needed. There is a limit to how far you can go because they will pop out on you, but they just pop easily back in. They have little channels underneath so that they can sit flat with the cord. And they even have screw holes or little adhesive pads so you can mount them to things. And then they all basically go into a hub, and they have a dimmer. So these can all be dimmed to a certain extent. This particular one comes with a remote control as well, so you can control the dimming and all that kind of stuff remotely. So this is another one of those things where there's a million of these out there and a million different flavors, so you have to just kind of look at what you're getting. One of the things to look for is make sure that it has this little channel underneath for the cable. The very first one that I ever bought did not have the channel, and it makes it really difficult to mount these flush, or particularly if you're sticking them down with like double-sided tape. Getting the ones with the remote is a nice feature too. It's just like gives you more flexibility. Otherwise, they'll usually just come with the dial and dimmer, which is fine also. They run off of fairly low power, and they have a pretty good throw as well. So little mini spotlights. The other one that I'd recommend, it looks identical. It's from the same mold and manufacturer and everything. But the nice thing about this is it runs off of USB. It has a simple on-off button. And if you press and hold this button, you can dim it up and down a little bit as well. So if you just need a quick, easy one-off, like that might plug into your computer USB port or something like that, look for these little single guys. Otherwise, go with the plug-in. Usually they come in groups of 6, and you can mix and match the colors as needed. All right, so finally we're gonna end on like the real toy, which is the NECA Dante's Inferno Room set for Beetlejuice. So I love Beetlejuice. I love the movie more for the aesthetics than the character itself, but I love the very like Looney Tunes, wacky, off-kilter design, kind of like you would get in like a Chuck Jones cartoon. And this sums that all up, the Dante's Inferno Room set. This is a really well done replica of the set in the movie. It's not quite to the scale of the figure. This is the thorny, trench-coated Beetlejuice. And it's not quite to the figure size, but very, very, very close, and it reads right. And overall, I think they did a really, really nice job on this. The Dante sign lights up. It will run off of AAA batteries or a USB input, which I really appreciate because they don't often have that option for light up stuff. It's just great. My only real complaint about it is that all of the backer boards, like the flames and the devil head and the curtains and stuff, are all cardboard inserts. And I understand why they did that. It saves money a lot. It overall reads right. And so, you know, you gotta save money somewhere. So my biggest enjoyment out of this though has been making upgrades. So I've been plugging away at this for a few months now. And it's totally ridiculous, but I am loving the results. So one of the first things I did is these were I don't know what these are. I call them barn lights or workshop lights, but these were the ones that came with the kit. They're not really accurate. They don't light up. So one of the first things I'm like is we have to make these light up. So these are little replacements that I have 3D modeled and printed and then wired with like micro LEDs. In fact, this light was completely missing from the model altogether. So I made this one to fit on the peak of the roof up here. So I've been working on lighting upgrades. I am working towards getting lit up signs like they are in the movie, but that is a much, much harder problem to solve. But I have also finished a few little accessory upgrades. So if you notice in the movie, there's a patch of grass and a ratty lawn chair out front. So I have recreated those. And so I 3D modeled these, resin printed them, and then did some painting on the chair. But the grass is replicating the egg crate foam that they used in the full-size set. So if you're in the cemetery scene, you'll notice it's just painted green egg crate foam, and that's what I've kind of replicated here in miniature. And that's just printed straight up in green resin, so I didn't have to do anything. And then the lawn chair, I meticulously recreated and did some grungy weathering on, and I just felt like that needed to be there for out front. It's not quite the scale to the figure because, like I said, the figure and the set aren't exactly the right scale, but this is to the scale of the set, so it looks right. And then the other ridiculous thing that I did is I did the rain spout. There's, if you notice, when he's on the second level there's a rain spout there that was missing. So this is another little upgrade I did, and this is just held on by magnets, so it's not messing up the decals or anything like that, and it's easy to take on and off as needed. But I love this thing. It's been giving me a lot of enjoyment just being on the shelf, and a lot of fun just doing upgrades for it. So it's like my version of a dollhouse. So anyway, that is some of my favorite things for the year. I hope you enjoyed them. Love to hear about some of your favorite things, and put them in the comments. But until next time, I hope you guys have a happy holiday. This is Sean from Tested.